Gundam.tk presents SD Gundam Age-2 Normal and Double Bullet. Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, GundamReviews.net, and 2 of the Gundam Age-2 SD Super Deformed is all put together. You've already seen the unbox and the parts, and now it's time to put them all together and check them out in the normal and double bullet form. And all together now, I still cannot believe that this is an SD Gundam, although for the price you're getting what you pay for, so it seems from first impressions here. In terms of the color apps, he's got pretty much everything everywhere that you'd expect, from the blue in the feet to all the colors in the waist and chest section up there. To see the shoulders, on an old SD kit, you know that those would just be one color, but the fact that you're getting the white, the blue, and then the blue and the white here, to go along, only a few of these parts are seals. I'm talking about the chest and that thing on the shield. To go along with that big ugly silver one though on the head, but it's still better to have that than not. But overall, the height, the width, and the proportions are perfectly in line with the way SD Gundams are drawn today. Now, with old SD Gundams where posability was a non-factor, with these new ones you're not going to be able to move the skirts or anything like that. But you can have the legs, they are going to be on a ball joint, and so far it's just been a little bit tricky to get his legs down flat. You're going to have to just have a little bit of patience, and that's probably not helped by the fact that I'm swapping these polycaps on and off all the time. These parts here on the sides are going to be useful for turning. That's going to be good for the transformation, and you can rotate the chest a little bit off to the side about that much. The shoulders with these parts on here, you are able to rotate them around, and the arms are going to bend 60 degrees. But again, when you've got this shield on here, even though you can rotate it around on the shoulder, it's going to get in the way of the binders or not noticed all that often. And the head just seems a little bit floppy there. It's on one of those big figure eight kind of polycaps there. When you plug it in, it doesn't seem like it's going to move in all that many directions, and it just seems a little bit floppy, and it's not necessarily going to go where you want it to. But overall, not bad for an SD. Armed up, that Hyper Dodge is going to look huge there, but it's still great that they went to the time to give you those two blue pieces to put on the top and the bottom. Especially with it being oversized, you're not really going to notice any of the hollow parts here on the normal, unlike I think the double bullet, but it seems to be just in line with the way that they do their weapons, as opposed to something old school like this Crossbone Gundam and his pea shooter. Next to the Age-1 Normal, they're almost identical in height there with camera lenses and V-fins depending on what angle you're looking at them from. But you can see that the Age-2 is filled out a lot more as it should be. The legs seem to be a lot more flexible for whatever reason on the Age-1. Small shoulders there, but he's still got all the color apps in the chest and waist. The shield stickers, I think, are really going to stick out, especially that little line of perforation. And you can just see that even as you just saw the Crossbone Gundam and his small pea shooter, that the Age-1 and the regular Dodge rifle is looking pretty small in comparison. And though I am a big fan of the Age-1 and the fact that he's got that lining and stuff that you can put all over the place, it's the head of the Age-2 with the color wraps up here to go along with all that stuff on the side and on the bottom with the red and gray that makes the Age-2 just look, again, pretty incredible for this price. And the pirate theme seems suitable, well, from what we know anyway, and here it is next to the Crossbone Gundam X1, which is looking a little bit beat up over here with a big ugly seal on its chest and head there, and outside of that it's going to have seals pretty much making up all of the colors all over the place, although it does have some white and blue differentiation on the shoulders, somewhat surprisingly, but you can just see the size, the height difference. Yes, these feet, they're hardly going to move at all, and pretty much the only thing this guy can do is move those thruster veins on the back. SDs, yes, you've come a long way in 10 years. Next to the high grade, well, outside of the fact that, of course, this is super deformed as opposed to regular, you can see that it's about half the height overall, and it actually seems to have bigger and wider binders there than it does on the high grade. Again, somewhat disappointing because probably the best part of this one is just the fact that you can move those around in any sort of angle and make it look really dynamic if you get it up on an action pose. Plus the fact that he's going to come with two beam sabers, so overall the high grade is better as it should be. But look at all the color apps, they are all there on both of these figures, despite their 1/144th and SD status. For poses here, I just wanted to show you how much that bend in the arm and that little bit of flexibility with the wrist is going to be able to bring up the Dodge rifle. You don't have to actually turn the arms and bring up the binders, unlike with the advanced grade. He can look down the barrel, although that neck is flopping around more and more as time goes on, but it's still pretty dynamic considering that he's on the ground. If you want to bring the Dodge across the other way, of course, you can turn the arm up there, and this way the arm is just going straight. The shield, you're actually going to see it, but pretty much only from the side. And as he spins into view here, it looks cool whether you've got both of them coming forward, sort of double O riser style, or one coming forward and one going back. And surprisingly, the fact that you can move these around is just going to add that little bit of more visual impact than I actually expected. Getting them up in aerial here is helped by the fact that you've got this blue skirt on the back, but that's actually going to bend back so that you can plug in this 45-degree type of angle there. And anyway, the shield and the beam saber, you're hardly really going to notice the beam saber because it's white on, of course, the white on the rest of his body. But it's still cool to see that, and remember, if you do get the two, you could have the bonus of having at least, well, semi-visible white dual wielding. And sadly, dual wielding, just not the same when they're all white. Although they do look a little bit more substantial. For Strider mode, you're going to take apart everything here for the arms and for the chest, although you don't really have to take the arms off, or so it says there. It's just a little bit easier, and you can take these legs off. The polycaps sometimes are going to stay on, sometimes they're going to pop off, and you can imagine that the side skirts may go flying on occasion. I thought this was a great touch when I was putting it together, but you've got these blue parts that you'll notice fit on there, but you can take them off then, and then put them on down here, which is going to look better when you reattach the arms and have them pointing backwards. For the legs, you're going to take off these parts similar to the way you'd swap them off for the double bullets, and you can take them and stick them on here, and then they're going to give you this gray part here, which you don't have to use for the high grade. You can still just use the regular waist, but it's going to give it a little bit of extra width when you attach it on. Next, you'll take this waist section and then plug it into here, and you can just close everything up there. You'll notice that these parts are going to be sticking off to the side so that you rotate them down, which I seem to forget with the high grade all the time. And once you've done that, you can take this, and that they've got these parts here, which are going to plug into the spoiler, making it very useful here. The Dodge rifle has two positions here for this blue part, so you put it into the one that brings it closer in, plug that into the front, and I probably should have done that afterwards, but you can take this head part here, it is going to fit and hide the red, and all of a sudden, I'd say for an SD transformer that this is looking really cool. The blue seals on the back of the calves are looking good. The feet switching back actually makes more of a difference than you'd think. The shield here is going to look good when you look at it here, and take a look at those front shoulders. With the details of having the blue and the yellow there, I've seen much worse kits there in terms of what you'd see on the front of a transformed Gundam like this. When you've got these parts swept back, they're going to look great. The top of the head is going to be SD cartoony and still being cool. The only thing is that it's got a little bit of a funny shape if you look at it a little bit closely down there, but the hyperdods coming out of the front, this SD kit is almost worth, it would seem worth to have a Strider form next to the SD Gundam on your shelf. And something else that I didn't really expect to be this cool, but you've got this stand here. You can't really have it up in Strider form if you want to use this one, unless you've got two of them sticking around, but it's ingenious the way that you put on the cuffs here, the feet parts front and back, and you've got the legs below these parts here for the twin Dodge cannons. I think this is actually worth showing off, or so it seems. So here you can see an unlined and cutified SD Age-2 Normal, and I gotta say that I'm really happy with this combination. Bandai, considering the fact that they're only selling 2 wares in this set here for 1,000 yen, and yeah, you do have to swap some things off as you'll see in the next part to get it into the double bullet, but I can imagine that there's going to be a fair number of people with this looking this good in this mode. If Bandai's looking to increase sales, well, they don't have to get you with 3 wares this time. 2 with 2 transformations could result in 4, and when you throw in little bonuses like this one, and just the fact that it's going to look this good with the side binders, anyway, I've got to say that I'm really impressed. But anyway, everybody, stick around to check it out when it's in its double bullet form, and you can see that next to some other ones, including its high-grade counterpart. But why don't you let me know what you think with a comment down below? Love to hear from you. Strider form, MS form, which one do you like better, or is it actually worth having 2? Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time. This is how they used to make transforming SD Gundams. It was the style of the time.